Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to this edition of the Gasso Cast. Michael Timmons, Lyndon Cook, Blues Tucci here. Week one's out of the way, fellas. And the title is like this might be a crazier season than we could have expected, just based off how week one is, and we can't wait for week two. But before we talk about week one, let's go through some little housekeeping. The G1 series, we just continue to get new signups and new signups and new signups, and we're very excited for this platform. I'll post the link to the G1 series in the description underneath here on X, so you can kind of see everything we've got going with the G1 and why it makes it different. We've been sitting in the background watching circuits last couple years and figuring out how Gasso can do it the Gasso way, and I feel like we found that recipe for success. So we're excited to bring that to you this spring. The Gasso brackets, tourney and showcase schedule. Blue, will you retweet that today again? So it's on the top of our
Get
feeds.
on it.
But I've had some of even the national media guys reach out and say, "Hey, I'm trying to cover Texas, and this is great to know when I need to come down and see who and who." So we appreciate y'all and all the coaches that continue to send that and event directors to us. That tool is great for everyone in Texas. Newsletter will be dropping this Friday. So much content. Our social media content was great this past weekend, plus what we have on the GastroCast, plus the newsletter. I mean, you're not gonna nobody's competing with us when it comes to content, and we really take pride in delivering high level content in the newsletters where you can find that as well. As always, follow us and tag us in everything: final scores, film highlights. We are your source for Texas high school basketball for real. So get that content and stuff in front of us, and it'll only help us do our job better. So let's get into it, fellas. The tournament showcase season week one is finished, and right away, I have a question for us. What did you see that determined wins or losses this weekend the most? I'll start with you, Lyndon.
Yeah, for me this weekend it was really depth. You know, especially in those the prime time matchups, everybody had their eyes on. Um, the Stars did what the Stars do. There wasn't a no show this weekend. Everybody came out and played and delivered a solid, if not better, performance from what we come to expect from the top level kids that I was evaluating. But it was always down to the question of who is going to step up, who's going to be that guy off the bench early in the year that could kind of, uh, you know, really take over the game, really make an impact and push the game in their team's favor. And it's early in the season. You're going to find this stuff out. It's still a work in progress. This is not teams that are well-oiled machines at this point. It's game one or game two this weekend. So yeah, it's a great to see that work in progress. Great to see these players stepping up and filling new roles. And depth was really the key word for me is in a lot of these top level matchups that I was at this weekend.
Blue, what about you?
I thought injuries, chemistry, um, players' roles, those really played into win and losses. I mean, some teams already have the injury bug, and someone like I'll just mention them, Denton Geyer. They're sitting there without three possible starters. So they're playing 2, 3 freshmen. Their best player out there is probably is having to get everybody involved at this point. But then you look at chemistry. There's some teams that are winning because they already look like they're in midseason form. They're sharing the ball. They know who their go-to guys are. They know position wise where they should be. And I think some of it was also some of the losses came from a lack of awareness of where I should probably be playing on certain because of my size, because of my athleticism. Where should I be playing? Some guys I thought that we should be playing inside, were outside, weren't doing a whole lot away from the basket. You got guys coming in to fill a role because somebody might have foul trouble or whatever, but you're the seventh or eighth guy. You don't want your coaches having to call timeout to set up the play because you don't know it. I mean, there's just a whole lot of just different factors that we probably figure that, hey, there's time to get those wrinkles out. There's all sorts of topics we could go down for wins and losses.
Yeah, and I'll finish this segment off with efficiency and transition. So many teams want to get out and run, and just the teams that were able to be efficient in transition would either make a run or extend the lead. But then you would see the teams that would want to run and maybe get some stops on defense that just couldn't figure out the efficiency with that spacing on a 3-on-2, a 2-on-1. And I know, like Lyndon, you and I mean, we've been in practices where those full court drills are so boring, and it's just like, oh, this is just cardio. But the spacing with 3-on-2, those 2-on-1s, they really matter when it's time to go put the ball in the basket, especially with a lot of teams. I feel like early in the season, defense steps up first over offensive execution. So sometimes your best chance of scoring is going to be in transition over half court defense. So the teams that played well in transition were usually the teams that were more successful this weekend. So, but it's early. Yeah, it's early, but it was good to see a lot of high level basketball um, to begin with. And I will say this: I feel like so much fall basketball allowed for some more high level basketball to start season one. I mean, there's teams have been playing a lot, so I don't know if y'all saw that, but I thought there were some high level games for sure, based off the fact that teams felt a little more comfortable. So moving on to who won the weekend, and before we do that, let's refresh everybody on where we were covering games this weekend because that's basically what our GastroCast will be about. We'll have some Gastro gossip stuffs where we are peeking at what happens out throughout the state. But I was at the Noble Classic, so a lot of my content will be from Noble. Lyndon, where were you at?
RCS season opener in Aldine, Houston area.
And Blue.
I started off at the Raising Cane's at Lake Dallas, and then over in Fort Worth, North Crowley at the Cowtown Tip-Off.
And you'll find out where we're going. Stay tuned with us, and you'll find out later on the episode. But who won the weekend, Lyndon, for you?
Yeah, it's got to be Katy Seven Lakes. They played the biggest game in Texas high school basketball this weekend was them against Atascocita, number 1 versus number 3 in our preseason rankings, and it was a game like honestly lived up to the hype. I mean, it's rare where you see a game because a lot of times when you get number 1 versus number 2, like a top 5 matchup, the kind of way this one was, where it's a little bit cagey, a little bit. Okay, let's not show our hand too much because we may have to see these guys later down the road. But it was not that. It was 2 teams going at it at full tilt, and it was a high quality game. This wasn't a foul fest. This wasn't a lot of possessions. This was up and down. 2 teams going at it. 2 teams wanting to see who wanted it more. And eventually, Katy Seven Lakes pulls it out with a 1-point win. Really, really, crazy ending to the game where Atascocita had multiple chances to win it. A game that I really want to see again. I've been very clear about that with my tweets. But just and when you look at Katy Seven Lakes getting this win, as well as a 20-point win over Conroe Grand Oaks to open up their season on Friday night, it's hard to argue that they're not the biggest winners of the weekend in the entire state of Texas based off their performances.
Absolutely. It's always fun when we get in our group chats during these games to like have to give live play by play because we're like, hey, what's going on? What happened? It's fourth quarter. Okay. And like in that fourth quarter, like based off the way we were talking, I thought Atascocita had it kind of done. And then I see your final score graphic. I'm like, oh, wow, what just happened? So it's always fun internally to get those conversations, those dialogues. Blue, who won the weekend for you?
How about the dialogues when we're going back and forth and texting, and then like it stops and it's like, well, who won?
Yeah.
What happened? Or it's mid-sentence.
Which happens all the time because, like, Lyndon, you need to go up to, like, get pictures after the game. So, like, you leave the group chat and then you're settling for the next game. And we're like, hey, man, hello, what's happening?
Who won the weekend for me? I believe was Grace Prep. I mean, they were coming into their game versus Plano John Paul after a 66-60 loss at Parrish. So they were coming in with a little bad taste in their mouth because they were just competing at the highest level. And then when you look at them play, Keith Scott, Amari Coleman, Joel Huggins, Johnny Green, Jaden Lowe, MJ Boyd, like, my goodness, there's a lot of mouths to feed there, but they share the ball among each other. I believe I tweeted out that there's 4 players with 14 or more points. They share the ball. They get into a rhythm. They know who has the hot hand. They'll pass the ball up in transition. They get going. They're going to rebound as a team. They're going to defend as a team. They do obviously a lot of scoring. They score very quickly. They did. John Paul did fight back and go and take them into overtime. But at that point, the deeper, the stronger team won, and I think that that winning the weekend was huge because of their prospects and the many different hot hands that they can give the ball to in different situations.
Yeah, for me, San Antonio Brennan, huge win over Dallas Parish, which was like, I mean, it was the game of the weekend for me, right up there with Allen versus Antonian, but it just was so high level. Teams were getting stopped. You were wondering how if a game if the lead got to 5 or more points, then it was over. And somehow Brennan stays around. And what I loved about it was both teams had such high level performers, and that's what you kind of want to see. So while I'll say Brennan's the winner, I mean Parrish could have easily been the winner if that game goes a little different at the end. Isaiah Ward, huge plays down the stretch, and then Brennan comes back. I mean, after being it was they were battered and bruised, and they have to come back and play a South Central prep team that we've saw at our Gasso prep showcase that has really good pieces, and they go get a win there. So for a team that has state championship aspirations in the 6A level, and they were undermanned, you have some football players that are key contributors there, so they were only playing like a 7-man rotation. So for them to go get 2 wins against 2 very physical programs, I'm sure Coach Cowgill felt really good getting out of Dallas with those 2 wins. So shout out to them for my winner of the weekend. Who was a player that caught your attention this weekend? And this could be whatever you want it to be, but just I mean, it's a lot of times we're watching and you may not have a storyline in place, or you have a predetermined storyline that you want to just kind of hope that player addresses. And for you, Lyndon, I feel like this player addressed a lot for you this weekend.
He did, and it's Alima Olajuwon with Houston Episcopal. I mean, it was all business. It was, I'm going to get to my spots. Nobody's going to stop me. He went and finished over the top with some power several times. But his footwork, Jesus, I mean, I get that he's related to Hakeem, so you can probably, make that connection right there. But just being able to stop on a dime, get wherever he wants to, manipulate defenders with his footwork, and still hit shots. One-legged fades in the mid-range, getting his way around people with footwork and finishing around on the inside was incredible this weekend. This Episcopal team, like they're I'm gonna have a lot to say about them in the newsletter because they've got some real pieces to go around him. But it was Aleem running the show and flying around defensively. That's the thing that I hadn't seen so much of him in the past. But if he continues on this, where it's all just no nonsense, get straight to the point, fly around, use his length to create turnovers, make the right play in transition, and then just be an elite bucket getter. He's going to really, really ascend in our estimation this season for sure.
Absolutely, that's a good one. You texted me on the side like very impressed. Like let's just our conversation. It was you were like, yeah, he's a dude. Blue, who's a player that caught your attention?
Romeo waits. I think this might be a little low hanging fruit here, but and I'm going to talk about him a little bit more in the newsletter. So just here was a guy that he steps out. He's 6'4", but he looks a lot bigger than that just because of his long arms, his long legs. His frame itself is very impressive. This lean basketball built that can get up and down the floor with ease, and he does a lot of everything for this Byron Nelson team. And I mentioned that before that the offense is going to go through him. So there's a lot. Sometimes that's a lot of pressure for just one player, but he does give the ball to his teammates. The teammates do have a good chemistry with each other, and they do each other ball, but they get the ball to Waits, and he goes and does his thing. Whether it's get to the basket and go finish, hit a three. He's a very long defender, so it's very eye catching because to me he's one of those guys that we've talked about, and we talked about rankings of that 11 to 23 range. What's going to happen next, and who's going to pop? And I mean, he's a guy that I'm looking to take that very next step.
For me, Ramirez Zapata of Antonian. The thing about Antonian is they'll never win the eye test when they come into a gym. And when we're looking at those TAPS teams, they're always going to be a name. They have great history, great pedigree over there. But they walk into a game versus Allen and they're up 8, 9, 10 points throughout the game on this Allen team. And I'll talk about that Allen team in a second. But Amari Guerrero goes out with foul trouble, and you're looking around, you're like, okay, well, they were already trapping him, pressing him, trying to get the ball out of his hands. Who wants the ball? And here comes Ramiro knocking down shots and big shots. He wanted the ball, and I always joke, "Who wants the ball? Who wants the ball?" He wants the ball. Hit huge shots, even at a huge three that I thought was going to win it for them. And Allen had something to say at the end of the game, but it was just great to see that obviously the game plan is going to take the head off the snake from Amari, but Ramirez Zapata of Antonian Prep played really well with San Antonio Premier this past summer, but he's a guy who wants the ball. And in taps, the more guys, we know how it goes. Like, I mean, this Antonian team's already well coached by Sam Burmeister and has a lot of pieces, but I think internally, them being able to play with Antonian with Amari Guerrero on the bench for a lot of that game, they're going to be feeling really good about themselves. So I know it's early, but what's a team that you're looking at differently after week one, based off what you saw? Lyndon, who is that?
Yeah, it's got to be Beaumont Westbrook. And it's not looking at them differently because they're still highly ranked. They're still the 5A D1 defending state champs. Brought back Elijah Garrett, but holy cow, the rest of that roster looks so different from what it was last year, where last year was a lot of 4 out, 1 in, a lot of pace and space, penetrate and kick, guards that can knock down shots around one big on the interior. Now they can just decide to, I think they can start 4 kids above 6'5". I mean, and have a 6'11" on the bench who was very impactful in his role. I mean, they are able to just beat teams down with their physicality, with their rebounding, with their rim protection. And you have one of the state's premier, on-ball players who is just going to be able to bend the game to his will at any given time. And I know that Elijah has been out with injury for basically since that state championship run that they went on, and he'll be the first one to tell you that he didn't play his best game on Saturday, but he did enough and was able to make some plays down the stretch that delivered them a win. But this ability with Christian Haskett, Colton Callahan, Braden Moton, Austin Stewart, like they have dudes with size in every position. And they're just going to be able to beat you in a very much different way than what it was last year. But they're never going to be out of that title conversation in 5AD1 because they were really impressive in a different way than what it was last year as they won a state championship.
Nice. Blue, who are you looking at differently?
Lovejoy, we didn't have them ranked in the 5A preseason rankings, but going back and looking through it, they very easily could have. And I mean, that's Wes Watson will never want to peak in November, but their team looks pretty sharp. I mean, they go out there with a system in mind. They go out there with knowing that when they're in the half court setting, Alex Cheatham is going to have the ball. He's going to make things happen, right? He's going to get the offense going, whether or not he off penetration or hitting the outside jumper, getting the ball to his teammates for easy shots. They take a lot of easy shots because they put themselves into position for that because of the penetrating kick and dump offs, and they just play hard on the defensive end. So when you put those two together, it always translates into different and easier ways of scoring on the offensive end. And what happens, your opponents start scrambling, and I think that's what they had going on Saturday afternoon when they're playing Mesquite.
Absolutely. For me, how about Allen? Right in the preseason, I said, look out for this team in January because they have younger pieces. But what I saw this weekend just validated that, yeah, this team's going to be really, really good. You have Nehemiah Lawrence that's going to always dictate the pace of however he wants to play. So Allen's going to be able to be in a lot of games because nobody's going to get him off what he wants to do. But what I really saw that made me feel really comfortable about Allen this season was Kadarian Ureen and Dylan Matlock Reed. They made the physical plays, not just the scoring plays. Dylan Matlock Reed hit some threes in the fourth quarter and the game-winning three, but it was just them on the glass versus Antonian when they're down 8-10 points to be physical. And if you think about what the Allen teams have been in the years past, they have physical wings that are willing to do whatever. And seeing Kadarian, a 2028, who we think is very highly regarded of, do the nasty things when maybe his offensive game wasn't showcased as much, made me feel really good about this team and what direction they're going. So yeah, Kadarian and Matlock Reed were being the Bash brothers there down the stretch, just whatever it takes, bringing the energy. And that's what I wanted to see. And that's what I expected that they were going to turn into in January, February. So to see them game one of when I see them, Yeah, that made me feel really good about Allen going forward. So real quick hitter segment, our next gen varsity report. Just let's give some viewers a little taste of who's coming up in our next gen. So we'll just go down the name of list. You can say a quick thing about him, and we'll keep it moving. Lyndon.
Yeah, it's got to be London Jackson with Harlan. I mean, to come into Houston, get 2 wins, and be the alpha dog, score more than half of your team points against Cinco Ranch, where he had 11 points in the fourth quarter, all 11 points that Harlan scored in the fourth quarter. Um, Doing some very, very high level stuff as a freshman, demanding the ball, knowing his spots, and playing winning basketball. Like, they're holding on to a lead, and he's doing the same thing where he's making the mature decisions, not just trying to go get his. Was really impressed with that young man.
Yeah, Thaddeus Young Hebron, pedigree obviously. Thaddeus Young Jr. So pops is a bad dude, but just looked very very comfortable for Hebron. Just the way he moved and the way he wanted to be on that court on the varsity level. Um, so yeah, keep an eye out on him for sure. Blue.
Yeah, Christian Williams from Frisco helped them beat Lake Dallas in their game on Friday. Just a kind of score, pull up jumper, gets to the rim, hit some perimeter shots. Really nice young player of the 2028 class.
Lyndon.
Yeah, Caden White with CE King. Lot of next gen talent, especially in the 2028 class on this King roster. But Caden's one of those slashing guards, gets to the rim, flipped the script against Cy Ranch, and a win for CE King. Was really impressed with what I saw from him.
Yeah, Nico Cajas of St. Michael's. St. Michael's has such a veteran senior and junior leadership, and they demand so much precision and toughness and physicality. So to see a freshman like that get minutes, he's gonna just be built different when this thing's all said and done because he's already learning in a high level program. Blue.
Alex Alexander, 6'10", from Mesquite. We've talked to him about him before from the Gasso Fall Tour, but he's going to develop, and he's going to develop at his own pace. But when he gets on the block, he can really be a force with his big body and with his reach. He can score a lot of buckets.
So yeah, really quick, and we'll expand this segment going forward. But just some scoreboard gossip, some games, final scores that we weren't at that we kind of just they made us look twice. I'm like, oh, is that what happened over there? And we'll just go through the list: DeSoto over Little Elm, Grand Prairie over Red Oak, Westlake over Judson, and Dallas Carter over Melissa. And those are all games, whether it's the final score, the margin of victory, or just games we thought might have been an upset. Going forward, we'll be talking more about that. But as always, tag Gasso, tag Lyndon, tag myself, tag Blue in your final score posts. Because obviously we want to cover the state. We can't be there all at once, but we definitely want to know what's going on. So tagging us will put it right in our face. Pause. A little bit easier for sure. So if you've been rocking with us, and we have almost 250 people live right now, where are we going this weekend? And since we're doing the GastroCast today, where are you going tonight, Lyndon? I'll start with you.
Yeah, going down to Lancaster for the Champions Classic. 3 really good ones on tap. That dynamic faith game going to be fun. Red Oak, Duncanville. That's going to be electricity. And then you get Lancaster versus Kimball with 2 of the most storied programs in South Dallas going at it. That's 3 high-level ones. And then down to Houston again for the Texas Invitational. They call it the Road to State Begins here. Really excited for what we get to see down there Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
Blue?
Yeah, Texas Invitational is going to be just a big part of what Texas is, and so I'll be there along with you all, and then I'll head up to Magnolia, and then that's Friday. Then on Saturday I'll be at here in DFW looking at brackets to kind of see where I need to go and watch some games. And I think a game that tonight that I'm really looking forward to see the outcome will be Friendswood versus Pearland. How does Friendswood bounce back with a couple days rest after going 1-1 over the weekend? Pearland went out and had a big win against Clear Springs on Friday night, so should be a high level game. Pearland, they got some guys, and they could be a team that's going to be making a lot of noise here soon.
Yeah, for me, I'll be at Melissa will be visiting Frisco Heritage tonight, so we get a very rare instance with our Gasso seniors, number 1 versus number 2 player, with Austin Gooseby versus Bryson Howard. Gooseby committed to Texas last night. Bryson Howard's going to Duke. You also have Cam Lomax going to SMU, and plenty of young talent over on Melissa's side of things. So I'm very excited to see how that shakes up. I can feel the buzz I expect a pack house tonight, and it's always great to get those type of matchups. And this weekend, I'll be heading also down to Houston for the Texas Invitational on Thursday. Then I'll be making my way over I-10 to Alamo City Hoops in San Antonio to see one of the more loaded fields in the state this weekend. So excited to be in coverage from there.
Yeah, one thing I
But
want to add is that Tim hasn't been on the last two Gasocasts, but he's out running around. I know he went to go see his daughter play, I believe, volleyball, so he's on his way back. So Tim, drive safely. He'll be at Alamo City Hoops. He'll be taking a look at the schedule, kind of seeing where he goes next after that. But that is a loaded field down there in San Antonio. So look for all of his statements and everything that he put, from this past weekend in the newsletter coming up on
Yeah.
Thursday.
And there you have it. It's just week one, but I feel like there was so much going on. I can't wait for week two. Sorry, somebody's calling my phone a lot. I can't wait for this weekend. It's going to be starting even tonight. So much high level basketball all over the place. So until next week, appreciate y'all rocking with us. Tag us and everything. We want to know what's going on, and we're your outlet for all Texas high school basketball. And we'll talk to you soon. Later.